All right, we are going live and we are winging it tonight. And we don't have our fade out, so that's the end of that right there. Mr. Titan and I are working on a new one with a fade out. And Titan has asked for a shorter intro because apparently people's eyeballs get tired after watching that intro for 30 seconds.
Yeah, we get, so we're not going to get into some deep stats, but what I can say is that 90% of the views on this show are after the live. And it could be because of Friday night. We've had some brainstorming on that. In the winter, our live views are way higher than in the summer. But
homebodies, basically.
We're focusing on getting the show pushed as far as we can get it pushed. We need your help. Hit that like button. That tells other people that this is good, awesome, excellent content, which you guys know it's like totally epic hanging with us on Friday night.
Yeah. Don't you have anything better to do?
We don't either. So,
well, hopefully I won't hit hopefully I won't accidentally hit our new logo button. Our new logo is done. But
yeah, that's set.
We want to get an animation going first. We might not, but I think it's possible.
And actually, what we should do is all those iterations that we vet out, we should play them on the show when they're ready and let the people who watch see what they like the best. And we can put that as the original. Because we have a few iterations that we're trying to get. We're both riding the struggle bus with getting it exactly right, though.
Well, and I actually nice cup you got there. And I actually paid that's a zip bug right there. I actually didn't pay actually because I kind of did anyway. I paid somebody to come up with a new Faz Radio logo, and they didn't really come up with stuff that we were hoping with, and then so I just put something together myself, and then Mr. Titan and Mr. Zorro love it. So.
Yeah, so the animation is tough, and Faz is using his thing. I'm trying with both Canva and DaVinci Resolve, and I'm getting some results, but it's a big learning curve. In DaVinci Resolve, it's I don't even know what you'd call it. It's a section, I guess. You have your timeline, you have edits, you have rendering, and you have what's called fusion. And fusion is where all the special effects happen. And a lot of Hollywood movies are actually edited with DaVinci Resolve. That's how powerful it is. And so the learning curve is like astronomical. But this fusion, are you ready for it? You're going to love it. You work with nodes. And you have to put these nodes together right. And you have to configure all the right nodes. And then you have to drag and drop them to merge them, and it's just crazy.
If there's anybody who's good at animation, with vector animation, we'd love it if you wanted to contact us. You get to see the logo a lot sooner because you'd be animating it. First things first is I want to recognize 8-Bit Tendies. He is our newest Gala Band member of the Faz Radio Discord. Apparently he said something wrong. We don't know what it is. Said something wrong, and now he longs for yesterday.
So what he said wasn't bad, apparently. It was just not good. Let's put it that way. He wasn't singing the praises, and Eric decided to just give him the boot. So 8-Bit this week there was like 3 major boots. So there was 8-Bit, there was Rusty Spork, and one other.
Yeah, Rusty Spork. He probably said something untoward. I don't know. I don't really go over there much anymore.
So I don't go over there either, but there's other ways that I hear things. And so there was a screenshot of what Rusty put up, and it wasn't even bad. It was legitimate criticism, but good old Carl is not having it at all.
Carl.
He's not having it at all. If it's not, I want to floss my teeth with your pubic hair. We love Gala, all that stuff. He's like, see you around like a donut.
All right. So moving on. I said we're winging it tonight, but we actually have some news articles I pulled up here. Like let's see.
So let's fill in the context. Let's fill in the context on that. So quickly, I'll try not to ramble. With the new format and the new logos and everything that we're putting forward, we're going to break the show up. We haven't figured out exactly how yet. We're all throwing out ideas. Zorro's part of our marketing team. He's way good at this stuff.
He's very highly paid too.
But what we'd like to do is break this into recorded sessions for the more serious side shows with interviews, things like that. And Friday will kind of be a winging it show on the lives, and topics that we find interesting, or if you tell us you find interesting, we'll talk about those. But this is meant to be the original, like Faz's vision of having just a conversation around a bonfire or a water cooler, and it's not going to have any exact format to it. So this will be the fun show. The other shows that we're going to dig in deep on.
Speaking of the other shows, did you see that we had somebody wants to line up and talk to us about their project, about their crypto project?
Yes, I do. And so I do think that it's really good to see people building, right? So we talked with Nate, and we talked with Ben from Deep Network. We've talked with a lot of the other builders that are out there. They've come on the show, and we've been saying for years, get out there and build, and we'll support you 1,000%. And I apologize, my allergies are killing me today. I took my pills, and it's still just killing me. We want to recognize the people who are actually doing stuff. So if you're building a project, bring it to us. We'll have you on the show. We can talk about it. You can educate people on it. We'll help you market it. We want to see people who are actually doing things, not just talking about things. And there's two, I think, that are going to be coming on very shortly to talk about their projects. And there's a third one that I have lined up, but they're not ready yet.
Okay. Well, you talked to a lot
almost.
Of people.
Yeah, I do. Most of my conversations on Discord are in either back channels, private channels, or DMs. And that's kind of why I've been absent from the Faz Radio Discord the last 2 months. I'm trying to make some connections. I'm having some pretty big, deep discussions. Deep, not that.
We call that butt
different.
Snorkeling.
No, so there's amazing people out there. From the other sides of how we were always focused on Gala, from the fringes is the best way to put it of Gala, right? So these conversations, I had no idea. I've gotten to know people on a deeper level, and it's huge to me. It's totally huge, and I'm really excited for what I'm seeing on some of this stuff.
All right. Well, let's start with your thing about Ryan Selkis, because I want to get into that a little bit. I have a bunch of other things lined up here, but I want to start off with that because these are some. Ryan Selkis is a crypto OG, isn't he?
He is I would think so. Yeah, he's been around forever. He owns Masari, which is it's like a big subscription DeFi news, crypto in-depth kind of thing. and he sells his reports on where the industry is, where it's going, where it's been. He does investment sort of kind of research. It is a huge platform. And lately he's been going off the rails on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. And I hate to say it, but it's almost like he's maniacal with he's really pissed about everything crypto, because the industry as a whole has kind of gone to shit, and all these rugs and all the lack of regulation and legislation and the flip-flops, and this person who hated crypto is now up for election, and now they're suddenly pro-crypto because they're realizing that crypto itself has a huge impact on elections.
Fair disclosure.
So, yeah.
No, I don't believe that. Fair disclosure. This person who's running for president happens to have his own multiple sets of NFTs and is now invested in crypto. This person is pretty famous, actually, for self-serving. So let's be clear about, that. I haven't observed personally, and I've done a lot of research. I haven't observed crypto having that much pull in the world just yet.
It does, because you know what? There are a lot, and not just crypto, but you said it earlier, single issue voters. And a lot of them are crypto people. And a lot of them believe in crypto, and whether it's the single issue of abortion or guns or trans issues or whatever else you want to throw out there, single issue voters, when aggregated and combined, make up a huge portion of the people that go out to vote.
Okay, so yeah, and they all have different single issues. Okay, that's the thing. Is you get a single issue voter about you have single issue voters about abortion and others about crypto. You're not going to add them together and they're all going to vote for the same person. They're all over the place because there's a lot of different issues.
But crypto is bigger than you think on the single issue. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it in the news constantly.
I need to. So I will think that I'll be seeing. I think it's something worthwhile when I see crypto being talked about on the regular news rather than a couple financial shows. I think MSNBC has a show where they talk about crypto all the time, which is good. And then of course we have our good old friend, what's his name, Jim Cramer, who has his own show where he throws out crypto every once in a while just to have something to talk about. But I'm not seeing it on all the financial channels.
No, and I do think crypto, lumping in DeFi and all that kind of stuff, your shit coins, I think Bitcoin is huge still. And I think everything that's not named Bitcoin falls into crypto. And I think Bitcoin is a huge issue.
Oh, I think I think personally, if you're not putting money into crypto, Bitcoin, you're doing something wrong. It's not going away. It's getting more popularity all the time. All the other cryptos are something that the U.S. government at least has a big problem with because they don't want another Bitcoin. Bitcoin got out of control, and they're like, okay, well, there's Bitcoin, but anything else. What they're afraid to see is an ecosystem build up around crypto.
I can see that, and
because it's something that they largely can't control. Because the whole concept of decentralization, even though if something's not fully decentralized, there's a lot of parts of it that they can't control. They can shut down part of coins, but not the whole coin.
Well, and
Ethereum, for example, but maybe you can shut down the group that runs it.
Well, not only that, but crypto is not as anywhere near as popular for a use of money as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is internationally recognized as money, value. And I'm not going to start the value discussion again. But you take the H bar, right? We all love our H bar. You still love H bar? I still love H bar. You take H bar and you go down to you put your truck for sale on Facebook Marketplace and say, I only accept H bar. You're going to get maybe one call in a year to do that. If you say, I'm selling it for Bitcoin, I'll bet you get 10 calls a week. So that's the big difference. And that's what separates Bitcoin from everything else. It has multiple uses and is internationally recognized as money. People want it.
Yes. So my thought about crypto outside of Bitcoin is that crypto represents an ecosystem. If you find a way to, well, if you start using crypto to encapsulate value, like, titles for houses and cars and being able to buy and sell things and stuff like that, you start using that. The federal government really doesn't like to have to switch to it. It costs money for them to get out of their centralized systems and then give it up. And what's going to happen is just individual municipalities are going to say, wow, we do all of our accounting now on the blockchain. And that's going to have to, which nobody's done yet, which after a while, they'll say, wow, we saved a lot of money, but that's going to be after 5 years of it or something. And then other municipalities are like, wow, we're having problems with our budgets. Let's do that too. And then at a certain point, then it tips and then everybody starts using crypto. The federal government knows that, and they want to stay way ahead of it and just keep saying bad things about it until they are ready, which actually, since they're actively discouraging people for it, they don't want to be ready.
Well, I think also that was the original purpose of the ordinals on Bitcoin, was to have a place to store a title or something along those lines. They ran into the issues. They thought it was a great idea. They rushed it out, but then they realized, well, we don't want this privacy. Somebody's not going to want all their personal information tied into an ordinal. And so they had to kind of pull back on that and just make it fun for a while until they figure out how they can obfuscate it enough to where it's only accessible by people. I think you're going to see like right now, Lightning and Liquid are layer 2s on there. I can see a layer 3 being developed to where they can securely store with smart contracts and keys the ability for you to store a birth certificate on there that's only unencryptable with a certain key that you provide. I see that as a layer 3 coming to Bitcoin.
All right.
And so what I don't think is going to happen is I don't think, like this week in the news too, XRP, Joel Katz came out and was talking about how they're going to, he's in a battle right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's having a fairly terse discussion with Wietswind, who has already developed smart contracts for XRP. And the XRP Cats came out and said, yeah, we changed our mind about smart contracts on XRP. We're going to develop a system to where you can have smart contracts on there. And Viets came out and he's like, yo, man, hey, we already have the XRPL. We've already developed this technology. We've already proven it. What's the deal here? Now, all of a sudden, you tell us we can't really deploy that on mainnet, but at the same time, now you're going to develop this thing. So it's been back and forth all week. But my point, backing all the way up, is I can't see Bitcoin being the financial instrument, the money side of it, and taking off real good. But then you have to store your house title on XRP. It's going to be in one. It's going to be on one base layer, which I think is going to be Bitcoin, and I think they're going to scale that.
Okay, so right now, if you want to do things online, let's say you want to sign a document, you can go to DocuSign and sign a document, or you can go to any of its competitors. And right now, if you want to sign something, it's stored in a bunch of different places. Everything we do online has a website where you can do those things. So I get what you're saying about you won't want to have a vehicle contract on one blockchain and a house title on another blockchain. What's going to happen, frankly, is you're going to have companies that sit on top of all blockchains, and they're going to say, we handle vehicle contracts, we handle house titles and stuff like that, and we will store it on the best blockchain for it. And they're going to handle that stuff. Just like in the 90s when the internet became more popular and people started using email at first was quite a bit arcane. And you had to get to it in very specific ways. Now, of course, you just go to Google and it's not a problem. There are people that handle your email stuff now. You don't know anything about your email. You don't need to. It used to be back in the 90s, I would have to store my email on my own computer. I get an email client and talk to the email server, download all the messages, and then go onto my computer. Google does that for you. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to build on top of the blockchains. Also, when computers, became a big thing in the 1980s and you had networks coming out, you didn't have web pages that could help you like download things. You had to know what computer you were going to if you wanted to get on any sort of company network, and you'd have to navigate to shares. And then if you knew, you'd know where the file is because somebody gave you some sort of link to get to it. Not a hyperlink like we're used to, but you had to go directly to it. And World Wide Web came out, and they made it so you could just display things that you click on, and then you can get to resources on other computers. So this is what we're forgetting, that was all built with the internet and the web, is there's various layers. And what we see with all these L1s is that's the bottom layer. There's going to be things on top, like you just mentioned, that are going to make things a lot easier. But none of those things can be built until the US government buys onto it, in my opinion, because all the companies will just, I think it's going to be a gold rush. Everybody is, once the gates are open, everybody's going to build onto the financial internet, as it were, and use blockchains all over the place.
So we've talked about this not very deeply before, and we probably won't get too deep into it here because we're already 20 minutes into a show. But this is the thing. People are greedy. And that's the problem right now with these layers and with the interoperability that you're alluding to. That would be wonderful. The problem is that everybody wants to have all that stuff in a walled garden. They want their blockchain with their stuff, and they're not making it. They're not out there creating for everybody and saying we're the top layer that'll connect to all these individual chains. And that's the big problem. Everybody wants to force everybody in and try and take over the market as the number one. And that's where the opportunity is. If you can build something that lays on top, kind of like the cloud, that's where I think part of the cloud came from, is the cloud's up in the air above everything and all the things connect to it, and you have your storage, right?
Let's describe this a little bit more accurately. There's no cloud in the air, okay? Basically,
I'm talking about the analogy of the cloud. I know there's no cloud in the air, but I'm saying that's why I think they named it the cloud.
The cloud is a term for easy ways to get a lot of different resources out there, file servers and web servers and databases and stuff like that. And when you have a company like Microsoft that makes the Azure cloud, they give you this easy way to get all those things. I don't like to say up in the air because that keeps it mysterious. You could just say it's a UI. They give you a UI to talk to all these resources. But even cloud stuff is very arcane. You still need to know a lot of low-level programming to get to the cloud. The cloud has yet to mature. Give it another 10 years, and the cloud's going to have a lot more automated stuff in it. Ethereum is becoming a chain to build blockchains for dApps. Actually, it's kind of funny because when you mentioned building blockchains, why would anybody want to build a blockchain if you already have one? Well, it turns out that a blockchain isn't the most efficient thing for everything out there. And so it's great to have many different blockchains, just like it's great to have many different websites and many different file types and so on. What's he say? If you guys need help on the show, hit me up in Discord. He wrote a book about YouTube marketing. Hey, let's flash this one. I like that. Get with him, Mr. Titan. You're the marketing guy, right?
I am the everything guy. You're the show up and talk guy.
Oh, I designed the logo. I came up with the concept of the show. I've gotten a lot of people on the show.
I'm busting your chops. That's all I'm doing. Relax.
I keep relationships with people you don't like, and you keep relationships with people who apparently only talk to you and not me. So,
well, no, that's not true. And it's not like it's a big secret. It's just, you'd never guess this, Faz Radio listeners. I'm a talker, and I'm always talking to everybody. And so it just so happens that I bump into this person, bump into that person. We get to yip, 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 yip. And before you know it, it's like cool things, very cool things.
All right. So, many other, then it won't matter. So yeah, again, that's like saying it matters what file type you use. And now there's a million different out. There's CAD files, there's binary files, there's binary files for different computers, Mac and Windows. There's music files, all sorts of many different files. And what's nice is that there's a computer operating system that handles that. It's a music file when there's a musical note on it. Good enough. Well, that's what it's going to be like with the cloud, eventually, if not already, and that's the way it's going to be with blockchains. You're going to need different blockchains for different purposes. Some are designed to go really fast, and some are designed to just be, accurate, and that's it.
I have a funny story about that, about this, implementation on all these different layers, right? So I'm a CoinStats guy. I subscribe to CoinStats. That's where I keep my portfolio. I monitor it. I watch it. And I kept seeing that I had like $900 and something in this wallet. And I'm like, it's not in that wallet. And I'd go to the wallet and I'd go to MetaMask or Rabby and I would pull up and it looks at all the chains and it's nowhere to be found. And I'm like, there's something wrong with CoinStats. So I accidentally bumped into it. I connected to another dApp the other night. And this has been going on, mind you, for like 6 months. And so I connected to a new dApp that I found that was an analyzer. And it analyzed, it was supposed to give you all these cool stats about your wallet and all this stuff. And I looked and I'm like, there's my 926. I'm like, that's it. That's where it is. It's in this wallet. And I was like, holy shit. And I go to MetaMask. I go back to Rabby. Does not show up there. But it shows up in this dApp. So I ferreted it out. Listen to this. I had bridged assets from Polygon to ETH. And you have to do what's called claim it, right? And we did a show on this probably 2 years ago when the first time I got money stuck in there because I couldn't figure it out. But I finally found it. And last night I went to the Polygon portal and I finished the transfer and clicked claim when I got home from work today. And it showed up in my Ethereum bridge and it popped right over to Ethereum finally. But you may have, so check your wallets, go to Arkham or somewhere cool and check your wallets if you've bridged assets ever. This was from like over a year, over a year ago that I did this bridge. It's probably when we were testing around for a show or something. But I found $926 just floating out in the abyss somewhere. And was finally able to figure out where it was and how to get it back.
Well, actually, I had a similar problem because I had put what, $1,000. Actually, all of my zip bugs that I've been selling in the last year have been on the base blockchain. And so I haven't cashed in any of the money that I got for them. It's just sat on the blockchain. And I thought that money was, in fact, I'm selling it for Ethereum. And I thought that was in a wallet that I could see, and I couldn't find it. Same deal. I could not find it. Turns out it was on the base blockchain. And it was, and I go into OpenSea and I'm like, oh my God, somebody got into my wallet because this wallet is empty. Well, you have the same wallet address on the other chain. So I had to flip to the base blockchain. It's like, oh, there's my money. So anyway, all this stuff that we're doing right now reminds me a lot of email back in the 80s and very early 90s, where you just had to know some arcane things to almost manually route emails. You had to bounce off of specific places. You had to go to specific places to send emails. And now it's all automatic. You don't know how email works. All you know is you hit send and it just goes. Well, there's a rich ecosystem underneath your email send button that routes it to SMTP servers and then queues there and then sends it to another one if necessary. And that's all managed by something. And back in the day, it wasn't managed. You had to manage it. And so you have to manage your blockchain wallets right now. There's money to be made on somebody who can make you a wallet to where you can say, can you pay me in crypto? And they would say, well, do you have such and such? And you'd say, I don't care. It's crypto. Pay me. And so it would eventually get to you. And then your wallet you probably have a default on there. Like, okay, if I get paid, convert it to Bitcoin or something.
That's what AMP, that I suckered you into that one. I made some money on it. You made a little bit of money on it, but that's what AMP was supposed to do as well.
I think I put like $1,000 into it. I don't know what it is now, but
yeah,
speaking of that,
that's what that was supposed to do. I would send Bitcoin and you would receive ETH in your wallet within 5 minutes. That was the whole purpose of AMP. That's why I was so excited about it.
So something I was going to say about the crypto market tanking right now. And it's tanking right now because it's not getting a lot of support from the government. The government really makes things work or not work. And people have been building stuff. And what's happening is that they're slowly caving in over time because the government wants that to happen. That's where a lot of these, not all, but that's where some of these rugs come from. When these crypto solutions just collapse. And, I think AMP is one of them, isn't it? I mean, they're still around, but I haven't heard anything about them.
They're still around. So you were supposed to be able to do crypto to crypto and at stores, and they actually rolled this out with Gemini Exchange to where you could pay in Bitcoin and instantly the store owner would get fiat in their account. So that was the big thing. They're still around, but the adoption still isn't there.
So, and so if you don't have adoption, eventually things are going to get abandoned, no matter how good they are. You can have the best. I'm sure 30 years from now, there's going to be YouTube shows or the equivalent of YouTube shows talking about how there was a coin out there that did all these things and it started doing it. And then the government just tried to shut it down and then it went nowhere. But oh my God, even by today's technologies, it's badass. And that's what gets me is we're in a situation where the government is very specifically trying to stop all this stuff from happening. A lot of the world is because, the old money system is going to fight before it goes down.
Well, yeah, they want theirs used. M-Ice brings up a good point. Polygon Ag Layer is supposed to connect the various Ethereum L2s. So I'm wondering, because I don't know, but I did notice in the news passing by, now that you mention this, they switched Polygon into POL. It's no longer Matic, it's POL. And you've got to change your token out, by the way. If you have any significant Matic, there's at the Polygon portal, you can make your exchange into the POL token, POL. So that is something that's come around, and that was as of July, I think. Yeah.
Polygon, you can.
Yeah, it's POL now. It's not Matic anymore. It's like POL, POL.
You have to switch it.
Yeah, because Matic's going away. POL is the new thing.
Speaking of things going away, I just had it. Something happened in this last week that I was going to talk about.
While you're looking at that, tonight's wine, unpaid plug, Dreaming Tree. It's fantastic. I'm a Cabernet Sauvignon kind of guy. I don't like white wines. I like dark wines. Fantastic stuff, Dreaming Tree.
All right. That's today's plug. I personally don't drink or smoke or anything, so I'm not going to have any of those to plug. I'm going to plug
Well,
Star
you're
Wars
not
Action
cool then.
Anyway, so let me plug Robinhood for a second. Robinhood recently lost a case in this last week where you could buy Bitcoin and other cryptos on Robinhood. Basically, Bitcoin and any Ethereum token, a number of Ethereum tokens that they preferred. And they just got their pee stomped because they wouldn't let you withdraw.
I remember that.
Violated California state commodity laws. And so now, if you go into Robinhood and you own Bitcoin, you will see that you have a button that says send and receive. So basically, it becomes your wallet. And of course, if you say, okay, I'd like to do it, you have to accept the terms. And I'm clicking through it right now, agree and continue. Oh, verify your identity. Show me your driver's license. So you're going to have to set it up. You're going to have to KYC in order to use that wallet. But
that reminds me.
The point is, though, what I like about Robinhood is that there's no fees for buying and selling Bitcoin. Now that there's no fees and you can pull out, but now I'm wondering what kind of fees you're going to have, Bitcoin fees you're going to have sending to your other wallets,
Bitcoin fees are going up. This is huge. I've got some huge news. In case you haven't heard, over in the EU, they've just come out. I don't know if you remember, we talked about it on the show, how about a year ago, the EU was trying to force people to KYC their wallets. And they were coming out with, it never did pass, but they were trying to get people pass a law that you had to KYC and screenshot your wallets and send those addresses to the respective governments so that they could KYC or monitor your wallets, know what you have, the whole 9 yards, right? Well, they've come up with a way to subvert that and get people to do it without realizing it. You know what they just did? They brought out a credit card linked to your crypto wallets to where you can connect whatever wallet you have conveniently, effortlessly, and instantly with this credit card, which is tied to your bank. And they're trying to force people into that. Well, just as I'm reading this, I get another big tweet that comes through. Guess who else is introducing the convenient credit card tied to your wallet? MetaMask. So with MetaMask's pressure, remember like 2-3 months ago, they were under the gun for being a money transmitter. Mm-hmm. They're trying the little trick now too, to where if we tie it to this credit card, you have to KYC. We have all your wallet data already. We can trace all your transactions from every wallet you've ever had. And now we're going to tie it to this KYC'd credit card.
Okay. So MetaMask doesn't have your private key.
No, but they have all your addresses. I never said private key. Okay. I said addresses.
So my thought is I'd like to know if this MasterCard somehow custodies your private key, which would really suck. Because, I mean, with the amount of hacks that go on these days, I mean, every other week there's some department store getting hacked or credit card getting hacked and stuff like that. I mean, by the way, something I would suggest that you do is freeze your credit, okay? If you're not actively buying a car or a house, go to the 3 credit agencies. They all are required by law to have an option to freeze your credit. Freeze your credit. That way, if you're
for free.
What?
For free.
For free. It's Equifax, TRW, and TransUnion. And I think there's a fourth one now. But you freeze your credit. That way, if somebody gets your social security number, your address, and your credit card number and all that together, they can't buy something big that requires, a credit check, or if I think there are credit checks now for certain other things that you do too. But the whole point is freeze your credit. That way people can't steal your stuff and give you bad credit. And then only unfreeze it for certain transactions. You're going to buy a car, you can tell it to unfreeze for a day, an hour. I think I had to, when I got a car long time ago, I unfroze my credit for like 2 days or maybe a day or two because I didn't know when things would hit. It's kind of funny because somewhat recently I traded in my truck for a car. It happened to be that I traded down on purpose, and I wound up not having to finance anything. And the car company still told me that they had to check my credit to get this car. And I said, well, is this a hard check, a hard inquiry, or a soft inquiry? And they're like, oh, it's a soft inquiry. I'm like, okay, well, you should be fine. And I said, just in case you're lying to me, you're not going to be able to do a hard inquiry anyway. So I go back talking with a salesman, arranging to get this car going. And, actually, when you don't have to pay anything, they try to find reasons to make you wait. And so I was waiting around, and finally they came out to me and they said, so we need to run a hard inquiry for you to get this car. And I said, but I'm not financing anything. And they said, yeah, that's what we need to do. And I said, well, then I just need to walk out because that's really the deal. And so the guy was like, oh, wait. And he went around, he had to go talk to the store manager, and the store manager, this was for Kia, by the way. Store manager coming out to me and is like, okay, I have authorized it on my own personal thing to say that we can bypass this hard inquiry. And so it's like, really? So they were doing a hard inquiry for no reason that would have affected my credit, that would have made me look bad. And how much money? And so I even asked them, how much money were you going to do this for? Because, I mean, don't you need to ask to see if, apparently you don't need to say how much money, but I was just like, well, they just wanted to check and see if I had good credit. I'm like, yeah, that's what soft inquiries are for. If you can't do that. So I was able to get the car, which was nice, but it really annoyed me how they were going to do a hard inquiry and they're unable to because it was frozen. A lot of people will do that to you and screw up your credit. You can't act like they're doing you a favor. Yes. I mean, I'm sure all car salesmen are similar. It sucks buying a new car because they all have the same stories. Anyway, we got a couple more things here that I want to get into. Why the hell is crypto crashing? Because it is crashing right now. And I think the stock market is crashing too, isn't it? The stock market faces worse than 18 months.
Yeah, it has been it's been a bloodbath the last 2 weeks in the stock market as well. I don't follow it very closely, but
buy low, sell high. This is when you buy. If you believe in crypto, it's going to go back up. If you don't believe in crypto, stop following crypto. Okay. That's what I'd like to say. I think that I should make a bumper sticker for that.
I want to say it was Tuesday or Wednesday. It was reported that like $1.8 trillion was lost in the stock market in a single day because everything it's a bloodbath. And so the big crux on that is the inverted yield curve. So if you pull up a chart that goes back to like 1994 to look at the bond yields for the U.S. government, and when it's been inverted and you look what's happened as it came out of that inversion, it was the 2008 crash, it was the 1999 crash. And so everybody's a panic monkey at this point going, oh my God, we're coming out of this negative yield curve. It's going to be the same like it was in 2008, and everybody's yanking their money. And the other side of that is another big signal, and there's a billion speculation points on this, is our favorite investor of all time, Mr. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has pulled $980 million out of Bank of America stock.
Yeah, and I think you should pay attention to that. Always watch that guy. He
So
every time something good or bad happens, he's in front of it. He knows all the people involved in all this stuff. He's doing it for a reason.
Well, and so the speculation is twofold. Number one, you have half the people saying he knows what's coming. There's going to be a run on banks. The system is collapsing. Oh my
No,
God, here comes the house.
no,
The
that's
other
enough.
speculation, listen, he's like 94 years old, right? And they're saying, listen, he's liquidating now because maybe he's gotten some bad health news and he wants to sort everything before he dies. So he's converting to cash to make it easier on his family, yada, yada, yada. Either way, it's concerning. And he did another real big one too. It was like $500 million out of Apple. I think it was Apple that he pulled his money out of, which is like, whoa, Bank of America and Apple, and he's yanking all his money out. What in the hell?
I'm fine with that.
Find a chart of unrealized losses at banks. I have not seen that, but I did see the Buffett stuff.
Okay, so speaking of unrealized losses, that reminded me. That's a good one. So Kamala Harris, we're going to get a little political, but we're not going to take sides. We're just going to report what's going on.
I'm taking a side.
I think I agree with you on this. Kamala Harris wants to tax unrealized gains. So we've talked about this before, and I'm like, so basically that's a task on risk, because if you were to buy a house and keep a house and it were to go up in value and hold it for like 20, 30 years, that's a risk actually that your neighborhood's going to be doing better over the years. And eventually you're going to make a lot of money and you can move on. Now she wants to do it for, I think people who have more than $1 million. So it's not going to hit you and me, but the whole point is I see it as more than just taxing risk. I see it as the government wants to control risk. So we have all these companies taking big risks and holding all these unrealized gains. And of course, it's in their stock. And of course, they want to trade. They want to take out loans on their stocks. Trevor Noah tried to make a big deal about, hey, you have all this money. Elon Musk can trade Tesla. No, he can use Tesla stock as collateral and not actually spend the stock, not actually sell the stock, and the stock could go up or down, and he's able to do all this stuff. Yeah, he can. But when he bought Twitter and used Tesla stock as his collateral, some bank took an incredible risk on that. And basically, the US government is seeing all these incredible risks that people are taking by using stock as collateral. And they're like, hey, where's our cut? Well, your cut's when it gets realized, wherever it is. Mm-hmm. Your cut is, okay, Elon takes a big risk. He drums up a lot more business. This is where your money's coming from. And you want to tax, there's a transaction you were unable to collect on. That was a problem. They were unable to collect taxes on stock as collateral. And so anyway,
Loans.
They think it's some sort of good idea. So to tax that, if you tax that, the government can now adjust the economy, adjust the amount of risk that the economy takes. It can start saying, well, wow, Elon Musk is doing his thing again. Let's raise taxes about 15% on unrealized gains. That way, they'll slow that down. That's what they want. They want to be able to control the economy even more, and that's what's getting me about that. Go ahead, do your half.
No, they're going to find a way to control the economy one way or another. The unrealized gains is a one-way street, right? You're not going to be able to take a tax deduction on unrealized losses. It's only for revenue. And this chaps me because that's what these high net worth people do, is they use their collateral to get loans which aren't taxable and pull that money out. You can do the same thing. You can go, if you own a stock portfolio, and you can get a loan from your brokerage company and post that as collateral. You can do the same thing. The difference is the amount of money, and that's where the jealousy and the stupidity comes in, because Elon has 44 billion shares of Tesla. He can get $9 billion loan, and you can't get that, so you think it's unfair. It's fair for everybody. Anybody can do this. If you own a business, you can do the same thing.
Well,
So
I wouldn't exactly call it fair, but I'll let you finish.
on the other side of that, I agree with you 1,000%. Taxing risk like that is absolutely ridiculous. It's bad enough that they tax you on the gain to begin with. You're doing the work, you're taking the risk, and they just extort that little amount out of it as a reward for them for allowing you to do it. I think that's complete crap. That should be any gain that you get with money that you've already paid taxes on should be yours to keep, and they should have their fingers out of it absolutely 100% completely.
Okay. Let's talk about fairness. Okay. So large entities and small versus small entities, rich people versus non-rich people. Non-rich people, they have to follow a budget. They have bills they have to pay. And if they don't pay them, things like utilities shut off or they can't get their car, and which eliminates their ability to make money. Rich people, they have lawyers that can study the tax code and get them the benefit of every tax loophole out there. And there are a lot more loopholes for rich people than there are for poor people.
Not true.
Well, let's push that aside for right now and say that they have lawyers that can exploit all those loopholes, and they can pay tax lawyers, tax accountants, and so on. So they are already running ahead, even if they made the same amount of money, which they don't. They're already running ahead of you in the fact that they can get more out of the system. Rich people also don't need to be financially solvent. I think Donald Trump said a number of years ago that, he liked to brag that he was in debt, like $13 billion kind of thing. Rich people, if Elon goes under, he's not going to get to a point where he has to live on the street. He's got so many entities tied in with him. If he starts going under, all those people are going to start bailing him out, because if they didn't, they would go under. So poor people don't have that. So rich people, they live by different rules. So let me tell you another thing that a rich people did. So if a rich person bought, I don't know, a Mirandus NFT or an Echoes of Empire NFT, and they paid a lot of money for it. And it makes them a lot of money. There's the potential that make them a lot of money. Great. You have the money to buy these expensive NFTs and make money. Now, the other way around is, if these NFTs, you spend tens of thousands of dollars for an NFT like this, and you make nothing on it, and it plummets in value, and it's worth 5 cents the next day, you can claim it as a loss and then get money taken off of your taxes. You can declare capital losses, and basically, if you spent $10,000 for it, get that $10,000 back. You're not going to find that from a poor person's not going to be able to do that, because they're never going to come up with the $10,000 to begin with. So there's more levers that rich people and rich companies can pull to keep themselves going. All you need is a certain amount of money, and then it can just keep going and going and going. Win or lose, whatever, you don't care. It's like, you just lost $50,000 today. That's okay. I can spend that. I can still live off of that out of what I get back from the government, from incentives and tax breaks. So that's the problem I have with rich people and the system. They're gonna get ahead no matter what. They live by different rules, so we need to stop acting like their rules are fair and our rules are not fair. What we see as fair is not fair to them, and what they see as fair, they'll never let us have. So is it fair that somebody that makes over $100 million gets taxed more? I don't think it computes. It's not the same thing for a poor person. Regardless, I'm against the whole point of taxing unrealized gains, but it's not fair to say that if me and Elon do different things, that one of us is in the wrong. It just depends on what rules you are personally held to.
So what's worse is the federal government. The federal government has this program called Social Security. Okay. And if you're a rich person, you're capped out paying your Social Security tax. It's somewhere between $10,000 and $11,000 a year, right? So you pay your $10,000 a year towards Social Security, and if you make it to retirement, you get your full benefit with the $10,000 that you put into it. It turns out that you would get somewhere around $4,200, $4,300 a month in Social Security. Okay? If you took that same $800 a month, at the beginning of your working career, and put $800 a month into anything like an S&P 500 indexed fund or anything even close to that, do you know how much you could make per month at your Social Security retirement age? Do the calculation. It's like $30,000 a month. So you tell me that it's the rich people's fault that people are getting screwed. The rich people are taking advantage of what they're able to take advantage of, just like you as a poor person are able to take advantage of. The government is the problem here. They're the ones that are doing more damage to poor people than any rich person could possibly inflict upon them. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Into that. Let's not forget banks, and let's not forget poor people. Banks and rich people. If you have an iPhone, you're owned by Apple and their ecosystem, especially if you stayed on it for any appreciable amount of time. If you've gotten loans or use a bank often, you're owned by them just as much as you would be a government. The problem is not government. It's large entities versus small entities, and we're treated vastly different. So a large entity could be, and I'm going to say Elon Musk is a large entity. He's all wrapped into a whole bunch of stuff. Titan is a rich flat earther. Yeah, sure he is. I'd like to see, I'd like to see any flat earther that has any amount of money fire a rocket up into the sky and put a camera on it and explain to me what they see. And I want them to send the rocket up and up and up and up past our satellites. Oh, what? Sorry. See, the problem with this is I don't know if flat earthers believe in satellites because they seem to think that they're not there. Yeah, and the moon is kind of interesting, and how the stars move around in the sky. That seems to have an alternate explanation too, because you can't have a flat Earth, floating through space and all these other planets. They're all round, but we're flat. So
listen,
you have some robots on these planets too. We launched robots to Venus.
So there's a lot of different types of flat Earth
There's a moon
theory. It's not just one
we have
flat
robot
Earth.
on there. Didn't live very
yes. Titan is the name of a rocket. Titan is the name of a moon of Saturn. Oh, did you see the recent pictures of the moon Titan? It looks like a little mini Earth. No, but it looks like a Titan moon. What they depict as a little Earth. It's kind of neat. I'm not sure I subscribe to that.
Earth. They think it's what Earth was like billions of years ago before it had a breathable atmosphere. It had all sorts of hydrocarbons in it. So but if you're going to talk about that, then you got to talk about like why they would say that. I don't know what shape it might be.
We always get into this. You always poke the bear with the flat Earth thing when we've been in the show for an hour and then we have to go.
Landing. Don't forget the moon landing. I throw that in.
We
got to. If you're going to land on the moon, you can also land on Mars and Titan, because we have landed on Titan.
So that is an entire 2-hour show on its own, and Zorro's been poking us to do one of these conspiracy shows. We really do have to schedule one of those. And what we would do is probably do it as a private show for our premium members to view live, and then broadcast the show, record it and send it out. But the premium members would have the ability to be in the chat with us live when we record the show.
You know why I keep bringing up the fact that, about Titan's flat earther. First of all, Titan isn't a flat earther. He is somebody who has his doubts. Okay. So
No, this is the best way to describe it. I'm not necessarily a flat earther, but I am absolutely it is not round. I will say that.
So he caucuses with flat earthers. Okay.
It's not round. It may have. So there's a million different ones. It could be part of we were part of a bigger planet, and we're only like this. All that's left is this slight curve at the top of this giant planet. It could be infinitely flat. I'm not sure yet. I'm still exploring. There's so many options out there for ways that this is working, and there's so many smart people.
There's so many options in your creativity. Now, what I was getting to before you got going, creative people, they can just feed off themselves. And so flat earther people are very creative. The reason I keep bringing it up, frankly, is a little bit self-serving. We get the highest numbers of anywhere on TikTok, where people click on our flat earth videos, where people are going, where somebody is going on, is talking about flat earth. In fact, this video will probably be cut up into pieces by him and his little AI algorithm, and all sorts of people on TikTok will start, getting all pissed off about it. So you want to get clicks, start talking about the flat earth.
Listen, I've got you in a short talking about how you believe in flat earth. So let's not even go there.
Where I was making fun of flat earthers, like, oh, I believe in flat earth and this, and I have this very serious way of telling jokes and stuff like that. So it basically makes me look like a flat earther now. And so
it literally pulled it perfectly. I did not edit that to get that in there. It served me that, and I just put the fluff on it. But I was laughing so hard, I'm like, this one is absolutely going live.
So Titan has expressed a few views to me about his thoughts about the shape of the earth. One was, which I find rather interesting, he thinks the earth is just bigger. I don't know, 2 or 3 times bigger, who knows. And then another
10 times it was. And we were hit by something, and it broke off, and now there's only like a partial top to the earth, and who the hell knows what's down below it.
So it's turtles all the way down, dude. Anyway, the next thing was that the earth is hollow, and which
could be,
I find really interesting. We're on the outside skin of the earth, of course. Now, on one of our TikTok videos that seemed to have blown up and gotten a lot of attention, somebody was talking about, well, somebody's standing on the top of the earth and somebody is standing on the bottom of the earth. One person's upside down, and people can't be upside down. And well, yeah, you can if there's gravity below you, in which case it would feel right side up. So because we're sucked down to the earth by gravity, it's not that we're upside down. Upside down is just having to do with where gravity is.
We're going to end up in this gravity argument again, because gravity, nobody knows what gravity is. Go to the top scientific place, whatever you think is the best scientific evidence that you can find. Nobody can define what gravity is.
So that's a very cherry-picked observation, because when you say nobody knows what gravity is, in a real sense, nobody knows what electricity is. Nobody knows what clouds are. Nobody knows what dirt is. No one knows what the atom is. We know how certain things act in this world. We have a hard time understanding how they work because we are not those things. So gravity is something that we have observed follows a set of rules, and we can reproduce. We can mock up and even simulate entire universes with our understanding of gravity. The problem we're having with gravity is, boy, if we knew how this universe was actually constructed at a, I don't know, subatomic level, then we would understand the forces that make gravity happen. Yeah, there are things we don't know, but we know how they act. Just like you don't know what I'm thinking, but you know how I act, and you can pretty much predict whether I'll lose my shit over something or not. And I can predict whether you'll lose your shit. So we don't know everything about gravity, about electricity, about fluid dynamics, about
magnetism. That is the
we don't
secret to the
understand.
world.
We don't understand everything about magnetism. We only know that it is there. Richard Feynman, is a scientist who died in like 1989, I think. Has a bunch of videos on YouTube about gravity, magnetism, and stuff like that. Things that that Titan's talking about, and he says the same thing. Yeah, we don't know what it is, but we know what it does. And when you say, he even explains it. He's like, okay, a lot of the things that I know what they are, there's no common language between you and me to explain it. If I were to say that electricity or gravity works like a rubber band, then that would break down, because then I would have to explain the rubber band, and then soon you would start seeing where it just doesn't work anymore, because rubber bands act completely differently than gravity or electricity and so on. So you can't explain to somebody what something is unless you use another word. If you go in a dictionary, you will see that every word is just described by other words in the dictionary. You're not going to find anything in the dictionary completely novel. It's like, what's a hat? What's a cover for your head? Well, it's more than what's a cover. Well, it's something that goes over the top of. Oh, really? All those words are in the dictionary too. You're not going to get out of that.
So you can, all right? And I want to do a whole show on this. And if you don't want to do it with me, we'll find somebody who will do it with me. I want to talk about a fantastic human being named Edward Leedskainen. Do you know who Edward Leedskainen is?
Apparently not with that pronunciation. No. Who is he?
He is the individual who built what's called Coral Castle in Florida.
No, not this. Not this.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's talked to make this really short.
Listen,
this guy did something that we don't know how he did it, and
something amazing
is that it's outside of our. He knows something we don't. Okay. He probably does, and there's probably an explanation for it, but there's not enough. Just like we don't understand completely how the pyramids were built, because we don't.
That's how they built the pyramids. Same way Edward did it.
We don't understand a lot about ancient methods of doing things, because we have newer methods of doing things. And we don't need the ancient methods. What's this? You guys should have a Planet Peterson on the show to debate. Who's Planet Peterson?
I never heard of that guy.
Pyramids. No, we're not going.
Listen,
I'm just touching on it just to say we've lost a lot of. We've forgotten a lot of stuff that we know. And what's funny is, man, a long time ago knew things about the stars and knew things about how to move things, and now we have better ways of doing them. Probably that goes through far less people than the pyramids went through.
Listen, so they think that's how they built the pyramids. I want to ask the viewers and the listeners, go to YouTube or go to Google or wherever you like to do your searching, look up Coral Castle in Florida. And if you don't think that would be the most interesting show you could possibly listen to on a Friday night, tell me so. If not, tell Faz we need to do a show on this, because it's truly amazing.
So for me, for that show to be interesting, you'd have to know something about how he did it. But what he wants to do...
There's a book. He wrote a book.
He wants to do something like the Unsolved Mysteries show, where he's like, play ominous music and be like, oh my God, how did he move this thing from here to here when there's no tracks on the ground? How did he do it? Yeah, he used only
by himself. Right, by himself. He was alone.
Mm-hmm. See, what's interesting about being alone, especially when you use that as fact, is you need to prove that you're alone. Okay.
Yes, there's witnesses who testified.
So wait. If you have witnesses that prove that you're alone, would that be not by definition would that be by definition you not being alone?
That's why we need to do a show on it. I'll give you this, right? Just to satisfy yourself, because you're being weird.
Excuses.
When he moved, now he built Coral Castle, then he tore it down and moved it and rebuilt it. And one of the witnesses was a truck driver who was moving the blocks, which were tons. I mean, they were heavy. They were like 12 tons apiece. And the truck driver showed up, and I can play the interview of the truck driver. They recorded it and filmed it. And he said, listen, this guy, I was there. He was all by himself. He told me to go away. I couldn't stay there. I had to go away for 3 hours or whatever it was, and then walk back. When I walked back, 12-ton rock was on the truck. Nobody else was there.
Okay, so that's called a contrived story. And also, if there's a couple holes in the story. Also, that's called a testimonial fallacy. And so here's something that was interesting. Long time ago, about a year ago, I had a full-size video game in my house. Full size.
Oh, God, I moved that thing with you. That sucked.
He came to visit me, and he helped me get this thing up the stairs, the 3 concrete stairs up into my house. We got into the house. We stuck it in a room. And then later, I had to move out of that house. And Titan wasn't around to help me get it out, so I had another friend, my friend Dave, help me get it out of the house. And I decided, you know what? I live in Portland, Oregon, and what people do is they put things on the street and just... they give them away. Okay. And I was game for it. It was a sunny day. And I was like, if somebody take this thing off my hands, fine. And so I put it out on the street. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Home Depot, pick up some stuff and come back. So we got in the car. He went to Home Depot. We went to Home Depot, took like 5 minutes to get to Home Depot. Got to Home Depot, and I thought, hey, I should actually advertise this on one of those Facebook groups that tell people that things are in front of the house. And so I go and look, I go to advertise it. But before then, I was telling him, my friend Dave, that I had a camera on the front of the house. We could see the street. And I said, hey, look, I can show you, that when somebody takes it, it'll, the camera is live. So I pulled up the camera on my phone. It fucking wasn't there. 5 minutes after we put the thing out, somebody, I don't know, a team of college football players were riding in a truck and said, hey, look at that. That's a joust machine. Let's go grab it. And it wasn't joust. What was it? It was something. A cyberball.
It was football, yeah.
And I mean, this nearly killed me and Titan to move this thing up a couple steps. Getting this thing into the back of a truck would have been heinous. Especially, I didn't have I didn't put a dolly with it or anything. So 5 minutes later, after we drove away from this thing, it was gone. And so I didn't tell a soul about it. So it had to be a completely random situation where somebody happened to have 5 football players in the back of their truck and the dolly and got it. Or maybe they all picked it up. Who knows? So that's very likely. So that took less time, apparently, than this Coral Castle dude moving this huge ass rock. With this truck driver around. Who knows? He could have had an army of little people come out and pick up that rock and move it.
Oh, come on, man. Listen,
and that's the thing. There's another fallacy called the personal incredulity fallacy, which means if you can't figure out how it's done, therefore it must be true. That's what's going on with the Coral Castle stuff. When this guy's apparently moving these large stones in ways that Titan cannot grasp in his head.
No, I can. And that's why we need to do a show on it. There's pictures of his contraption that he had. There's pictures of the shed that he had his frequency modulator in. It's all about frequency and magnetism and being able to basically cancel gravity because of the magnetism. And that's what they're thinking also was a potential way that they could have built the pyramids back in the day too.
So did you know that when the radio was invented and when other things were invented in the past, that it wasn't just one person, that, like the light bulb was invented by several people simultaneously. The radio was invented by several people simultaneously. Simultaneously meaning, within a few years of each other. Other things like the telephone and stuff like that were too. Edison actually wound up buying the patent for the telephone. He didn't invent it himself. But but the whole point is, if it was to do something in a super secret way with some sort of machine that this guy's hiding, somebody else would have figured it out too.
He wasn't
Because
hiding it. It was out in
you're
the
missing,
open.
You're missing what I'm saying. Okay, this is if you're talking about a guy learning how to manipulate physics, gravity with magnetism or something like that, somebody else would have figured it out too in the intervening time or even beforehand. And your explanation basically relies on everybody who figures this out either gets captured by the government and forced to perform in circus animal tricks for the rest of their life, or that they just all think that they're going to make a lot of money, and for some reason they don't. That's what, or they die crazy or something like that.
Right.
It would have been figured out by a number of people if that's possible.
It's same as Tesla. He said the same thing. The secrets of the universe are 3, 6, and 9, and it falls into the Fibonacci sequence, which has been proven to be basically the tenet of everything that is around us, makes us up, and does things.
So you've taken a common repeating pattern in the universe that we have found that corresponds with the Fibonacci sequence. So you can see things like snail shells and the structure of galaxies and the structure of leaves and stuff like that. And even in our body with how our body is put together follows certain numerical patterns. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to use the Fibonacci sequence as your explanation and the universe is built upon it, it doesn't tell you anything, because that limits it to anything in the universe built on that pattern could have done it.
That's right. And figuring out how to implement and use that Fibonacci sequence is the key.
Metal or this life form drinks water. Which one? I don't know. This thing on this. I'm thinking of an animal. It drinks water. Which one? There's a billion animals on this planet, dude.
So I'm gonna go off the rails crazy here, and I want you listeners to think about this very carefully before you call me crazy
when he does this.
Listen, so I think every person has a certain key in their mind that, if put together properly, will unlock a lot of different things. For instance, in my life, I've had certain numbers follow me throughout my whole life. All right? And they pop up, and it's totally random, not set, not done a certain way. And when I got my first Google Voice number, when Google Voice first came out,
is this the number?
No.
Okay.
My number is 1156. That number has followed me throughout my whole life. When I was a little kid and I had a bike lock, my combination was 1156. When I got to high school, my locker number that was assigned to me, that I didn't request, it was just assigned to me, was 1156. When I rented a place to live, sight unseen, my address was 1156. These are years apart, right? With no predetermined anything. That number has followed me. The other number that has followed me is 3318.
Now you know all his passwords, by the way, people.
No, I learned that. They used to be. I'm not going to lie. It used to be, yes, but not anymore. And listen, so the craziest thing ever, when I first got my Google Voice number, when Google Voice first came out, I was a Google developer, because I would take these old, brand new, when smartphones were just invented, I would help code the ROMs that you could load in. You could take the software off the Samsung phones and put these ROMs on there. I was a Google developer, and I got first access to Google Voice when it first came out. And I signed up for it, And I could pick from, when it pulled up on the screen, I could pick from 3 different numbers, telephone numbers that I could get. And all 3 of them had 3318 in them. Another stupid random thing.
Did you say 1138 or 3318?
No, there's 2 numbers that are in my life, 1156 and 3318.
Okay.
So you have whatever piece of whatever puzzle. It doesn't have to be numbers. It could be something that's followed you your whole life that's just fucking weird. And you have your piece, and I have my numbers. And M-Ice has something that's followed him through his whole life. And Punjab has things that have followed them throughout their whole lives. And when you get the right combination of people together, I think that does something. I really do. I can't see this being completely random like that. That's too much coincidence.
So, okay. So there's a problem that Titan has here in that he thinks that coincidence should have a certain incidence. You see how I worded that? So he thinks that coincidence should happen a lot less than it does. And just like we talked about, the universe has some sort of structure with the Fibonacci sequence. He's noticing some patterns in the universe that seem to align with his life. Great. That's awesome. These patterns happen to everybody. I think that's awesome. That's great. We don't know a lot about them. It does not explain floating rocks at coral castles. Okay. What happens when people get conspiracy minded is they bounce from thing to thing. UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, the Yeti, floating rocks, pyramids, whatever, because it's interesting. It's fun to talk about things that we don't know what they are, and we can be very, very creative. We like to suggest ways that things can happen. Oh my gosh, if there was a way to float this rock, we could do this, and this. Therefore, if somebody's done this, and this, they must have floated a rock. No, that's why science exists. The pursuit of evidence exists. If you can reproduce it, then we know it exists. If you can't reproduce it, we don't know. Doesn't mean it's not happening. We just don't know how it works, or don't even know that it exists. And what I've noticed a rather coincidental incidence of conspiracy theories that happen and how they happen and so on. And it really is just creativity. You're a creative guy. I used to believe, I never believed in Bigfoot. I could never get my head around it. And I had my doubts about some things until I just saw all the evidence there. Now, if you want to talk about coincidence, it's really coincidental that we've gone to the moon. And
we have not.
All this, this is my thing. We have all this coincidental documentation that if reproduced, because if you were to follow this documentation, you too could go to the moon. Okay. We know the orbital dynamics. We know how to get machines up there. We know when to insert them into lunar orbit. We know the mass of how mass should work. And when you accelerate to a certain speed, we understand what delta V means, which is the motion of something in relation to something else. And we know how to calculate all that. We know how to build things to keep humans alive and that stuff. And we have plans for all of them. We have documentation for all of them. They didn't throw away all the documentation that we used to land on the moon. It's still there.
Yes, they did. No, it's not. They lost it. They've admitted they've lost it.
So they admitted. So it happens to be that back in the 1960s, magnetic tape was hard to come by. And and we tended to recycle magnetic tape because we didn't have it a lot. Now, we didn't recycle all of our magnetic tape. We recycled some of it. And it just happened to be that some magnetic tape got recycled when it shouldn't have been. The magnetic tape that I'm really bummed out that they recycled? That would be Doctor Who Season 2. It's gone. There's maybe half an episode left that they completely wiped. Okay, that happened.
Who was the doctor then?
Huh?
Who was the
Troughton.
doctor?
Prac-
Oh,
Doctor Who,
Tom
number 2.
Baker. Tom Baker was my favorite.
He was number 4. Anyway, what I'm getting at is now, because that tape is no longer there of that season, did they really film any shows? Was he really a doctor? What was it all made up? No, they recycled the tape because that's what they did back then. And somebody was stupid enough, and they either recycled the wrong one or they intentionally recycled it. Well, that's what happened with the moon landing stuff. See, I'm giving myself, I'm straining my throat here. That's what we did with the certain moon landing tapes. We just didn't find the need for them. We'd gone to the moon several times, 16 times, or was it 7 or 8 times? We went to the moon like 7 or 8 times. We had so much tape, we weren't going to store it all. And just so you know, we have complete telemetry tapes and videotapes of all the other missions. We just happen to lose a few. Okay, so the conspiracy is certain tapes have been lost, not all of them. And we have plenty of documentation from 1970, 71, and 72 of going to the moon, and those tapes are all there. Tom Baker was the best. I actually liked the 5th Doctor. What was his name? John something. Forgot his name. I used to know all their names. I like the 5th Doctor the best. He was just kind of cool.
Just like when you were when you read, right? You get involved in these books, you get deeply immersed in these books, and you have a picture in your head of what these characters might look like and everything else. When I watched all those Doctor Who's, Tom Baker is what I had in my head of what a doctor would look like. And so when I saw him, I was like, that's him. That's how I see this guy.
He actually wasn't the most popular when he started.
He wasn't. Everybody hates him.
Was the 3rd Doctor, John Pertwee.
He was good.
Because
he was good. There's no doubt.
That started doing a little bit of judo and karate and stuff like that, and he was a popular doctor. But I
loved his hair.
I think Tom Baker was because he was just around for so long, and he's also, I think, still the longest doctor, hasn't he? Peter Davison, thank you very much, Shanrat.
Peter Davison, yes.
He was the doctor that was out when I first got into Doctor Who. And of course, all the other stuff was Tom Baker. And so Peter Davison was just kind of, I don't know, a refreshing difference. And now they have a thing where the doctor's replaced every 3 years. They won't go any longer than 3 years, which is a big bummer.
They had women as a doctor, I've heard, too.
One woman. Now they have a black guy. And they didn't regenerate this time because they didn't want to, because the most popular doctor right now, David Tennant, he came back for like half of a season.
I didn't like him.
So he didn't regenerate. He bi-generated. He split in half. And so now we have the next doctor. I think he's the 15th Doctor, 14th. He's off having his own adventure. He's doing the show. And then David Tennant is now kind of sitting back. He has his own TARDIS too. And he's going to be on from time to time, I'm sure. They didn't want to kill him off.
That was a fantastic show. It really was. I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
How can you enjoy all these shows about science fiction when they pretty much reinforce the idea that the Earth is round, and none of these shows talk about the Earth being flat? Once in a while, one of them will get a wild hair up their butt and visit a different dimension where everything's flat. But
I think that
science fiction in Doctor Who and Star Trek, a lot of that starts out in real stuff, and then they branch out into a what if. And so I think if you really like the creativity from a science fiction show where people are saying what if, then you're gonna lean into the pyramids were built by aliens.
I think why I love science fiction is I think some of it is fiction, but I think some of it is truth hidden in fiction too. And yeah. I do believe that some of what we see is not fiction. I think I wonder, like the movie Avatar, I wonder how much of that is really fiction. I look at 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? That kind of it's kind of a prequel to 2024 with HAL. And what happens when AI gets a little too far advanced for our own.
Well, I saw
good?
something. There's something on
and
YouTube.
The Matrix. I think The Matrix is a documentary. I don't think it's fucking science fiction. I think The Matrix is more of a documentary.
No. I actually saw something on AI. It's funny because we've known how AI was going to act since the first concept of it came about. And the HAL 9000 is an example of an AI. And I saw this really neat treatment on YouTube a week or two ago where the guy broke down every action that the HAL 9000 did in 2000 and nailed it. He didn't malfunction. He didn't malfunction at all. He simply did what he was told, and it was a very, very valid way to do everything he was told. He obviously killed the crew because the HAL was told things that the crew was not, and HAL had to keep hiding things from the crew and stuff like that. So he eventually killed them to solve that dilemma because he couldn't tell the truth to them. He wasn't allowed to tell them the truth. And so when they'd ask questions, he couldn't answer them, and he was designed to answer questions. So if you just killed them, it was easier. You guys need to rebrand the show and take. Yes, I like that. Well, we are kind of rebranding with our new logo coming up. Should I? We've had like 6 people on for a long time. Should we give them like a preview of the logo, or do you think we should wait?
I'm sorry, Dave. We can't do that right now.
So you don't want to do that?
No, let's do it, man. We've had people hanging with us. How long have we been on? An hour and a half.
Can you
absolutely do that?
Can you edit this out later?
No, because it's live. I can't change a live. But let's see. How can we do this? You know what? I think you should give people not like one of your stupid little quick clicks, but give them 5 seconds to look at the alt. Remember the tilted one you showed me?
I don't want to do the alt because then they'll fall in love with the alt. Okay.
Like the red one or the blue one. Those are cool. Those are cool as fuck.
You know, I think I'm just okay. I have an animation going, but the animation isn't done right, and I don't know. Do you guys want to see it?
I think you should.
Anything, then I'm not going to show it.
It's slick as wet dog shit, you guys. Faz did a really good job with this.
Mm-hmm. It's good as wet dog shit.
Slick as wet dog shit.
Yeah, nobody's saying anything. Nobody wants to see the new logo. I'm gonna have to. I offered. So it's not this one. That's not the new logo. It's a different one. And nobody's saying anything. I think we're gonna have to wait.
All right, we'll wait.
I have it right here.
What.
All I need to do is click this button, and it would show the logo. Oh, we have a person. Show it, dude. It. What?
Show it. Do it.
I will do it for Punjab, our one viewer that cares. Okay, so we have this right here. Let's see. And we assume you're
Come on, Punjab. You're killing Punjab over here.
I'm just trying to come up with a reason to show it. I mean, that's what you do.
Punjab is dying. Punjab's been around forever. Thank you for listening for so many years,
All
Punjab.
Right. So what I wanted was this logo is rather complex. And actually, the problem I'm having is when I print it on T-shirts and stuff like that, the colors don't come out the best, or it tends to run into each other and stuff. And I want to do more swag. And I also want if you see it from far away, it kind of blends in. So I wanted to get a lot simpler. And I had some people come up with, there's also a delay in cast sometimes. Okay. Was Shanrat interested? Well, that's true.
Shanrat, yeah.
Anyway, I wanted a simpler logo, but I wanted it to be seen as Faz Radio and feel like Faz Radio. and I actually paid somebody to make an alternate logo, and it just fell flat. And so I just sat down and just played with Inkscape, the cheaper free version of Illustrator, and I made my own thing. Turned out they had this interesting tool that I used. What's the comment here? Suspension is killing me. Suspension. See, if this is recorded, you don't have to wait. You could just go forward to see the logo. That's why I like to flash things really quickly, because then they have to like go find it and stuff like that. If I do it for a long time,
don't do that. Don't torture them.
Okay.
The people that
so
are
few
watching
viewers, that
now.
doesn't matter. Okay.
No,
Anyway,
the people who are watching now are our diehards, man. They've been with us
Okay.
for years. Give them some love.
so this is something that as soon as Mr. Titan saw it, he loved it. There we go. I gotta fix the animation. So that's the static logo. Can we do this? No, we can't put our faces over it. So that's the new logo. It's a lot simpler. It can be seen very well from a long way away. It can be printed well on t-shirts. And found this nice open source font. What's this called? Hussar. So you can get that. You can use that font for free.
The mic in the yellow is going to be smaller. This is why we're saying we're playing with this a little bit.
What?
We're trying to get it just about right. It's too big.
Too big?
Yes, it's too big. No, now listen. So Faz also, because we're splitting out the shows into categories, he has different color schemes for the different shows in reds and blues and greens, and they're fucking beautiful. They really are. And they're slightly modified.
Let me see if I can pull that up.
Yeah. So they're fantastic. I was blown away when he pulled those up. Because he's like, oh, I got these cool logos. Tell me what you guys think. And I'm looking and I'm like, he's gonna show like some shitty logo, and he pops that up, and I was like, wow, I really like that.
Actually,
Comedy Central. Well, we are Comedy Central.
The @ sign was actually intentional. Let me see if I can pull up my Inkscape document. Hold on.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. As a graphic designer, Demology's a graphic designer. I keep telling him the same thing. He insists it's not too big. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller. What do you think, Demology?
Send me the hat. Make the mic bigger. I don't know. So this was ready for prime time. This was going to go out. The only thing we were waiting on was an animation, which we still need.
So the other part, Punjab, if you get with Faz and you want a hat or a shirt, I'll buy you one. So get with Faz to get your details, and I'll buy the shirt or the hat that goes out to you.
Let me share my screen here. I gotta find it. I don't know what screen I have. Not that one. Screen 2. Nope. Screen 1. Okay. There we go. So, no, this is done. All these are generated into separate files. Here's our @ sign right there. I wanted an @ sign. That was the whole point, actually. Color scheme. We have bumper sticker plans right here. This is a QR code. In fact, I challenge anybody to scan that with their phone right now. Tell me where it goes. We have some alt ones that would be on a T-shirt. You know, little T-shirt logo, bumper stickers, various transparencies here. I want to come up with different color schemes for different reasons. I don't know if I should use this one or not. I kind of thought the swirl's neat, but it's
no, that's yicky.
So
that
the way
one,
this came about
work.
is the swirl tool here on Inkscape. That's really it. I just made it thicker. So
that's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said. All right, where's the? That's what we got there. But who's the graphic designer?
Demology.
If you wanted the @ look good, yes, I was specifically. I wanted an @ In fact, I was going to put an @ sign there so we could say @fazradio.com or something like that. So you got to see some examples.
So speaking of, we've been pushing on whoever it is. So we had our YouTube channel is Faz Radio Crypto. And we couldn't get just @Faz Radio because some yo-yo has been sitting on it forever and a day, and he's never put a video out. And we've tried emailing them. We tried sending messages. Lean on this motherfucker. Let him let that go.
No, we don't have
whatever.
money.
Make him let it go so we can have the full Faz Radio. We're actually doing something with it.
So regarding the hat, so another reason why I wanted to simplify the logo is because we couldn't do anything like a sewn hat, an embroidered hat or something like that, which I think is the best kind of logos on hats. If you have an embroidered thing, anything that's like ironed on, that's going to come off.
Yeah. That yellow thing in the back was just hell to work with because you couldn't get full transparency or it would look like complete ass. I mean, it was terrible. So this makes it way better.
I wanted it embroidered on a hat, and so that's why I had the simpler logo. And I went through a bunch of designs, and that one seems to work. Now, I also want to switch out the spiral with other things in the future. So I made so the font and the microphone are going to stay the same, but the spiral, the goal there is to be creative with it.
You did a real good job with those, Faz.
You even have on some of our TikTok videos Faz Radio with a microphone with nothing behind it. So
yeah, I made that just so I could brand our shorts. I put that I incorporated that in there because it looked so bad with that old yellow background. It was terrible.
So can you animate the looking part to show a spectrogram across this outer perimeter? It'd be nice to show static, then tunes into a vocal graph. Oh my fucking God. There's so many things I'd like to do with it, but we're not like technically.
So you missed
not artistically enabled. Where's that at?
So
this is me. Hold on. Let me finish here. This is me trying to I'm animating by hand in Inkscape, just typing in different numbers. This is 6 frames, I think. I would love it to have all sorts of neat stuff in it where you could have a spectrogram and all that stuff. That's where we need help. So if you'd like to help, that would be awesome.
So I've been working in DaVinci Resolve to try and do this. You missed it, M-Ice, at the beginning of the show. I was talking about this. I'm working in DaVinci Resolve to try and get the animation to the beat of the music. And I'm riding the struggle bus. Fusion inside of DaVinci Resolve is a huge learning curve, and I've done it for a week and I'm making progress, but we're trying to get that to work with either the letters or the logo. We're going to keep working at it, and hopefully in the next week or so we'll be able to have that nailed down. But if anybody has any tips or anybody can help, please let us know, because I was so cranky this week. I thought for sure Faz was going to ghost me for the show this week because I was so cranky trying to get this fucking thing to work all week. And I was hollering at him and calling him names and everything else because it's frustrating. You can't get, I'm so close, but there's something I'm missing there. You're muted, Faz.
Yeah, sorry. So 8-bit Attendees is on our Faz Radio Discord saying, for logo animations, just use a template and stuff like that. Well, somebody needs to show us how to use that. That would be awesome, unless you have the time. I mean, the problem is having time to figure all that stuff out. And so I animated the last one here, and actually Nate got somebody to do our current one, which is this. That's an animation that somebody put together.
Nate found us somebody to do that, and it took forever, and it was a pain in the ass. So whoever that was, thank you, and we love you, because that was rough.
8-bit Tendies is suggesting a show with a skeptic and a conspiracy theorist makes for good content because of the drama. I don't know how pissed off I want to get every week, because the problem with conspiracy theory, it's this easy. Just give me a reproducible set of
Oh my God.
criteria or a situation. That's it. And yeah, I can say
Faz.
that over and over and over again until my eyes bug out. But the interesting part is to see how many times that gets shot down. Anything reproducible. So an example of something reproducible is I can show you how to make Kool-Aid. Okay. I can have you gather the ingredients. I can have you mix them at a certain ratio, and they will have a consistent taste if you used all the ingredients. In fact, if you were a little bit fudged the ingredients, you'll get a taste that's close enough to the taste that I got. Not so with conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories cannot even give you an example of what they mean. What they do is they draw a pretty picture of things that aren't physically possible, and they say, this is what happens. So, I mean, sure. Let's have a conspiracy show for a week or two and see how it does and see if we get more people on it. I think you're just going to piss people off.
Listen, I want to tell you why you're such a freaking hypocrite. You talk about science and being reproducible and everything else. That's not the definition of science. If you can't question science,
you just okay. So that's a straw man. What you did right there. No, the definition of science is just writing something down. Period.
No.
You want a science, you write it down. It's a method to find out the answer. Science is not a thing where, science has failed me. If you're saying science has failed me, then writing something down and then repeating it, that has failed me.
You're over talking me because you don't want to face the reality.
Oh,
the reality is science is meant to be questioned. And when the voices are silenced for those who question the science, that's a problem.
Okay, I'm going to do something. I thought this was some woo-woo that I saw on the internet, but I know that it will work. Okay, so saw this on TikTok even. So I right now am going to do something to make you forget. Okay, you're going to, as of this moment, you're going to forget that you were ever gay.
That's psychology, Faz. That is not science.
Were you ever gay?
No.
Then it worked. See how easy that was? You just forgot.
What the hell are you talking about?
You have no memory of being gay now because I made you forget.
Oh my God.
So do you see how this works?
That's psychological tricks. That's not science.
No, that is a logical fallacy. It's not even a psychological trick. All I need to do is to say something and not back it up. That's what conspiracy theorists do. They say stuff that's
listen.
creative.
So we talked about this guy. His name is Eric Weinstein. He was on the Joe Rogan show with Terrence Howard. And I just watched Chris Williamson. I just watched a Chris Williamson cast today. And it was a huge 3-hour. And Eric Weinstein, one of the things that he's known for is being a big questioner of science. And he's the guy that you and I talked about him before. He's a PhD physicist, from MIT and Oxford and everything else. He has every credential in the world.
Titles out like it's going to mean something with the next statement that you're going to make.
And he was ostracized because he questioned the science and said, this isn't the way it works. And they said, well, no, that would ruin everybody's life's work. We're not going to entertain that. That's what I'm talking about, is questioning the science. You have to have a way to question what was done. If not, it's a dictatorship. Okay, and nobody likes that.
Wait. So what you're doing is you're recasting an argument. Okay, there's a point in there somewhere, and I think the point is that the scientific and educational establishment has a fair amount of inertia. And when people suggest things that are far out and they simply say that they're true, they get laughed at because it's like, well, yeah, that's not real. And of course, the gold standard to prove any point is to show something reproducible. And of course, the scientific and educational establishment are going to say, you not only need to reproduce it, but you need to explain in our language what this means, which means going through, I don't know, physics calculations, algebraic, mathematical calculations and stuff, and say, this is physically how it works. Because it is very easy when you write down a set of instructions to propagate illusions or propagate inaccuracies as if they are fact, when you're really not defining it enough. So science is the act of writing down, but great claims require great proof, great evidence. And if you're going to say something like, I can float rocks, then you've got to do more than say, a truck driver walked away for 5 minutes and the rock moved. That's enough to get people interested, but that's not enough to say that it's true. The true part comes when you say, okay, I was inspired by this truck driver story, and then you know what happened next? I got some friends over, we put some cameras up there, and then we actually saw one of these motherfucking things move. Now, of course, you can still fool a camera. And so that's where you need even more evidence and say, okay, this is how you can do it yourself. And if you follow these instructions, now, of course, the guy with his secret machine who did the Coral Castles, he obviously didn't want to tell anybody. So we're not going to find out.
He did.
Huh? Of course
he wrote a book. He wrote a book on it.
Oh, so all you need is this book to know how to float things? Why aren't other people floating things?
Sort of.
Out, right?
He did.
You read the goddamn book, right?
He did what Faz does. He did what you do. He did what you do. He created a puzzle out of it. And he wrote this book and he said, here's the methods that I use to do this. And he purposely in that book left every other page blank. And he said, if you find a better way to do this, please write it down and pass it on to the next generation so that they have an easier time of doing it.
Isn't it funny how those with great claims decide they want to start writing puzzles? Okay.
It's physical proof. You can go there. It is reproducible by going there and touching the door with your fingertip and moving a 20-ton rock with your fingertip.
He did it. How much money that would save in shipping and in everything around the world, moving things, cars, whatever. You know how much money that would save? So you're telling me of all the people that have visited this site, not one of them was a businessman and said, you know what, if we could bottle this and sell this, we'd be fucking quadrillionaires. No, for some reason that hasn't happened. So
no, you know why it hasn't happened? Because it destroys the economy.
Understanding and belief that the way money works is it makes things happen. So no, nobody's floated anything. Just him.
That's right. That's why pharmacy will never cure a disease.
Do you understand?
Because they'll go bankrupt if they do.
Do you understand what magicians are? They show you things all the time that fool you into believing that something is true, including having you turn your back, walking away, closing your eyes, putting capes in front of things. That's how magic works. So if this guy was able to move a rock when dude walked away, then at the moment, he's no better than any magician. I want to see more. And right now, you're not. If he made a book, I'm saying somebody read the goddamn book. Somebody went over there and saw it happen. Why aren't they making money off of it? If this is that easy to do, or if it's that easy to find out, how come nobody's doing it? Don't watch what people say. Watch what people do. And on that note, where's my thing here? Where's my title? Did I get rid of it? There it is.